Well, hi everyone, this is Jilly, littlezencrone. Welcome to the Rune Circle. We are on week 11, and this week I can really see a correspondence or a correlation um, of our rune this week with our rune last week. So this week our rune is IThe, and as you can see, it looks like an I. So it's pronounced IThe. And the translation for this is ice. It's about stillness and frozen and stasis, our preservation. This is a rune that is all about the sacred pause, which is something that our rune last week need, being in that soul gut-wrenching state of need. That rune asks us to pause and wait for wisdom, and here is the rune of wisdom, the rune of that wisdom, the rune of that stillness, the frozen stillness. It both preserves and it halts activity. So this is a rune too that I see of being protection, and protection from reaction, right? So it brings us clarity, it brings us wisdom, it brings us messages in the stillness. The Anglo-Saxon rune poem says, "Ice is very cold and exceedingly slippery. It glistens clear like glass, and most like to gems. It is a floor wrought by frost, fair to behold." And the Old Norse rune poem says, "Ice we call the bread bridge. The blind man must be led." Not sure about that. So the element, of course, is water. The zodiac correspondence is Aquarius or Cancer. The crystals, I bet you'd be surprised. Clear quartz, selenite, blue calcite, and Iceland spar, it says. The herbs for this are birch, willow, mint, and wintergreen. Now, just so happens that willow trees are one of my favorite trees, and my other favorite tree are birch trees. And birch trees in Celtic mythology are trees of healing. And I can see where this rune is also a rune of healing, because it forces us to stop and take stock and kind of, get our heads together when you have that feeling like I talked about last week of like butting your head against the wall and nothing's working. And you can take that sacred pause, take that breath, or however many breaths it takes. Sometimes, it takes a while, but if you can take that sacred pause, and also, like I said last week, to talk to a trusted friend, sometimes just being able to verbalize what you're going through and sharing it with someone else helps us to see things from a different perspective, and that's what helps us to gain the clarity and to be able to work through the problem in a different way. The direction is north, so we go from south to north, and this is also used to freeze harmful influences. It is used to, in stillness, and in pause for clarity, but it's also used to freeze harmful influences, so that it is that protection, or to stop a situation from escalating, because of course if you can stop, then the situation is most probably not going to escalate. It's hard to escalate. It's hard to be an escalator when you're not being fed fuel for the fire. Do you know what I mean? Let me just look here and make sure that I have everything. I like this. It encourages us to rest and in that rest we gather energy, the energy to keep going, right? The energy to keep going, to and to return to the navigation of whatever issue it is that we are dealing with. So this is really a rune of, when I say stillness and clarity, I also mean, it brings inner calm. So where need is more a rune of ache, and that ache of that need, this is a rune that brings inner calm to us. So these kind of work together, I feel like. All right, so this is week 11 finished, and we will be on to week 12 next week. Again, let me know if any of this resonates with you, or if you're working with runes. I'd love to know what runes you use. I also use the witches runes, which I love, and I just recently, within the year, bought a book on the women's runes, and guess what Mr. Honey's doing? He's making me a set of women's runes. So yeah, until next week, everyone, take care of yourselves.